Welcome back, everybody, to the Hard4Games channel. We are your hosts.
I'm John.
And I'm Tony. Today we're taking a look at F1 Race, a sample of F1 Race for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Only problem is, F1 Race was never released for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was only released for the Famicom, and there was a version of it, a port of it, for the original Game Boy. So we're going to be taking a look at this, trying to figure out, is it truly a sample that was sent to Nintendo of America, or is this just a fake? Let's get started.
This is Hard4Games. They're Hard4Games. They become hard. They're Hard4Games.
So we have F1 Race for the Nintendo. Is it legitimate? Is it not legitimate? So a couple of things struck me about this. And the very first thing that I noticed was this label. Very clean. Doesn't necessarily look like it's over 30 years old. There's almost no damage to it. It looks just so pristine. Like all the edges are like tightly glued on. It looks as if someone may have received it at Nintendo of America, put it in its case, put it in a properly not humid environment at the correct temperature, and left it there with no sunlight exposed to it for 30 years, which, as we know, is kind of rare. If you do a Google image search for Nintendo Entertainment System or NES sample cartridges, you'll see some cartridges with a lot of damage.
Oh yeah.
A lot of label damage. Some of them have handwritten like notes on them, or the game is handwritten on them in terms of the title. So
Stickers sometimes peeling. Yeah.
So seeing something like this age, you know, in this condition is rare. Now I noticed that you also noticed a couple points regarding the sticker and the plastic on the case, though.
It does seem like it's the right sort of paper stock, although I'll be honest, I am not an expert in that. But it does also look like an older printer style that's on there. Almost borderline typewriter.
I kind of think that the typewriter-esque font is a bit of a red herring. I think that if it was faked, this would be the type of font I would utilize to make it look as if it was older than it is.
So, something that just occurred to me right now, as Tony set this in there, I thought, you know, there's a fascinating part of this cartridge where you can notice that one side is ever so slightly more sun damaged than the other. Now, uneven sun damage is not too terribly uncommon. Mm-hmm. You'll see it on consoles, you'll see it on Super Nintendo, NES, Super Famicom cartridges and stuff like that. You didn't really see it as much on Famicom carts because they were just weird and different and all kinds of weird colorful stuff.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think, how could you get sun damage on the top of there without damaging the label?
Yeah. This plastic nor the label is sun damaged at all, but this plastic
well, that
on the backside,
could just be because this is a more resilient mixture.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't always come out perfect in the mix.
Sure.
But if that sun damage occurred through another layer of plastic to mediate the radiation, possible.
Possible.
I mean, it's no smoking gun, but it's possible. I did also notice when I was flipping through this thing, I was like, man, this thing's clean, so clean, so clean. And I noticed right there, down in there, it looks like it has been cleaned with Q-tips. Because you'll notice a little nook in there where you can tell there's still a little bit of dirt. So could this have been a cleaned up donor cart?
Possibly. Where they just kind of forgot an area.
There's the picture of the nook. And there's a picture of Tom Nook.
Because you think there'd be some dirt here.
Yeah.
And you think that, you know, if there's enough dirt in here to maybe think that thered be some damage to the label, which doesn't exist.
Yeah, there might be some more dust damage, but perhaps whoever cleaned it up knew what they were doing with there. Because, like, but there is also the writing on the label that you noticed.
There's a bit of writing on the label as if there was, like, maybe it was on a desk, someone had a piece of paper over it and was writing on that piece of paper. You know how sometimes you get
Which
an
would
imprint?
be a very clever touch.
Almost like a carbon copy, you know?
But that would be... I don't know, that would be such a...
And it says P something U. Like, we can't make out what
Honestly,
it says.
it wouldn't shock me if it was actually supposed to spell out fuck you. Which would be, if this is a fake, and somebody wrote fuck you on it, in that way, very craftily doing it, that is the most subtle troll I've ever seen, and my hat is off to you.
Hat is off.
You can see I have no hat, because it is off to you. But
looking at labels isn't necessarily my specialty. What I did with it was, ultimately, we dumped the ROM to see if this US version was any different than the Famicom version. And lo and behold, the ROM data on the Famicom F1 race and this was exactly the same. So it is not any sort of American NES version of F1 race.
this would just be, if this was legit, here's just play it, see how you feel.
Yeah. And to that point, opening it up, what do we find?
Much like you would in any 5-screw, you find that little adapter and a Famicom cart in it. But the adapter, clean. Very clean, but used. You can see some abrasion on the pins. It doesn't take long for that to come in. Everything is legit original. That is an original cartridge.
Yeah.
Out of it.
To clarify, there's a Famicom cartridge in this with a Famicom
Well,
to
there's the
NES.
board.
Yeah, the board with a Famicom to NES pin adapter, right? Which was not uncommon, like you said, in what was it, 5-screw?
Yeah, most of the 5-screws are
you
like
know,
that.
like I think Gyromite had some of them.
Yeah, there
had
are some
like
of the Gyromites.
a Famicom converter.
There's a couple of the Mike Tysons that
Yeah.
are pretty valuable now that
So
have that.
nothing crazy uncommon to actually, because Nintendo's actually utilizing these.
Yeah.
But when you take a look at the actual Famicom cartridge, it looks worn. And when
Yeah.
you take a look at the adapter and the pins for the NES, it doesn't look nearly as worn. Now, again,
I'm not a materials scientist, nor am I an electrical engineer, so
yes,
it could just be those two different PCB stocks aged differently, and one is more volatile.
yes, but they do look drastically different.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're very, very different stocks of board, but yeah, they seem to be in very different conditions of wear.
Yeah.
So there's one other thing that I found to be odd. Now, every time Tony was grabbing this and pointing things out, I've tried to avoid touching it just in case, but he touched it a couple of times. That made me think. Now, I know a lot of people will hold a cartridge like this. It's kind of serrated like that
Yeah.
normally, but as I'm right-handed, and most people are, a lot of people who grab it like this. So you'd assume people passing it around, grabbing it, handling it, stuff like that, there should be some gradient of finger oil in there. And there only seems to be very, very, very faint finger marks whatsoever. So it could be that the finger marks are just from us, the previous owner, and the person who made it.
In terms of our personal thoughts, I think partially because I've been burned before with fakes, I'm about 90% sure that it's fake. I think there's a 10% chance that maybe it was a sample cart from Nintendo of Japan that for some reason just was immaculately taken care of.
Like, I'm ever so slightly one side of 50-50.
Which side?
Where it's, I think this might be slightly more fake, where it's like 60-40.
Okay.
But nothing like crazy, because I don't want to just say I found some odd spots, because they've all got odd spots, even the real ones. So I don't want to fall into like the Dunning-Kruger, which is where you don't have enough expertise in a field, so you overestimate your own expertise in it, because you don't have enough expertise to gauge your expertise.
Yeah.
I think the most promising part is that there's nothing terribly anachronistic about it.
Okay.
It all seems plausible for the time.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure probable. It's not like I opened it and found a campaign flyer.
A lot of the things that we focus on here are more so betas and prototypes. So when it comes to sample
More
carts,
like we are betas.
oh, when it comes to, when it comes to sample stuff, I think it becomes much more obscure. So we know it's not a beta. Is it a sample? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
Was it fun when you played it?
Yeah, it's actually a fun game. I liked it. It's kind of like Hang On.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
Or like Outrun, like a primitive Outrun. So anyways, thank you all for watching. Thank you again, Justin, for loaning this to us so we could check it out for you. I'm sorry that it wasn't something more with a very unique ROM inside of it, but...
And we're sorry we couldn't be more certain, and I hope it does end up being true.
Yeah, and if you have any more details, anyone watching has any more details on, this or any particular thoughts that we overlooked, please let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, if anybody's uncle works at Nintendo and has some stories about this, or how to see Lara Croft's breasts,
Yeah.
hit us up.
I know lots of pathological liars who had an uncle that worked at Nintendo.
A friend of mine in college used to have a great line about those liars and one-uppers in high school. You know how every high school has one-upper?
Yeah.
Well, his had two.
Hey everybody, thank you again for watching the episode. Wanted to let you all know that after shooting this, we reached out to a few additional experts regarding this cartridge. Did not hear anything new or different from what we suspected. However, if anything new does come up, we will do an update. Thank you again for watching.